Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fearless Floyd Show. As always, I am your host, Fearless Floyd. Thank you for tuning in. I know everybody, y'all must be anticipating the show about the true story on the repossession. So, um, I got a text before I even woke up this morning from my guest who I was supposed to have on. And man, you'll never believe what they did to him. I can't make this stuff up. I really wish I could. This would be, you wouldn't believe me. So apparently, he's under an NDA. Okay. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I have a long time subscriber, viewer, friend. We've never met, but, we talk on the phone for quite a while, quite often. And I've been giving him some guidance towards a repossession. And it's not even about the repossession anymore. It's the principle of the matter. Who cares about what's involved? It's principle. And for those of you who have the fortitude, the wherewithal, the temerity to grind it out with these folks, because it's a grind with them. They'll do everything they can to, get you off the trail. They'll put you on a rabbit trail. So legally, in whatever legal matter you're in, now you're not even chasing the main issue no more. They've got you chasing all this side shit, burning up your time, money, and energy to burn you out so you can't get to the finish line. So for those of you who can stand next to the fire in the kitchen and fade the heat, two thumbs up to you. So my guest is one of those folks. It's gone beyond the mere possession to the fact that they just don't follow the law. There's no accountability, no transparency. When you pin them in a quarter, they run. They literally get up and run. And that's what happened to him. He got the judge to, where'd he go? He couldn't stand the heat, so he got out of the kitchen. And that's what happened. Unfortunately, due to the NDA, my guest will not be appearing. And believe me, more than anything in this world, he would love to come on the show and tell you his full experience. And I would love to have him on to share it, because this is why you don't hear me talk about a lot of stuff, about a lot of what other people are doing behind the scenes. They're grinding, they're working. I still have people trying to, discharge those utility bills, mortgage payments, cars, loans, et cetera, et cetera. So just because I'm not covering it on my platforms anymore doesn't mean that I'm still not in the hunt. It's like with everything. Okay. I used to be the baddest of the bad boys. Okay. A real OG. And I still, to this day, have connections on both sides of those fence, the good guys and the bad guys. Absolutely. So I'm in this really unique position of, it's just, I can't explain my life. It's so crazy. But yeah, he would like to be here. I would like to have him on. And sadly, tonight, it's just not going to be the night for him, solely due to the NDA. And I've never heard of this from any other jurisdiction. And, and I'll put it to you this way. He's so far along, so entrenched, so time consumed, which means he's put in hundreds of hours, if not thousands of hours into this one issue, okay, about just a simple repossession of, something that's less than, I think it's $20,000. Okay. I'm not even going to tell you what the personal property was, but a piece of personal property got repossessed that I'm pretty sure it was less than 20 grand. But it's the principle of the whole matter of how everything was conducted, how lawfully, legally they acted, and their course of the holder in due course. And obviously, they found the right one on the right day, because he's going to, take it to the limit. So he was very apologetic to me. So I'm going to pass that along to you. He's, believe me, his deepest apologies go to all of you, because he's frothing at the bit to come out here and tell you his experience, so he can share everything that he did. Okay. And this is what I tell you folks, and I've said it 1,000 times. You're playing in their playground, in their sandbox. Okay. And they have their own toys. And when you bring your toys to the sandbox, they don't want to play with your toys. They got their own toys. So they're going to shun you. And if you keep trying to get them to play with your toys, eventually they're going to throw sand in your face. And then if you still, you're going to get held accountable. You didn't get the message. We tried to cover you up like a turd in a sandbox, and you just weren't paying attention. You came in here with all that paperwork for your appearance, and you didn't want to appear. You thought your paperwork was going to talk for you, but there was nobody to recite that on the record, and they disappeared during their appearance hearing. So he's very apologetic. So I'm passing the sympathies on to you folks. I will have him on as soon as we can get that all taken care of. We'll do it. However, what do we say about the last 48 hours and all the events that have happened worldwide? And of course, obviously, the Pope dying, him having basically his last visitor is J.D. Vance. Okay. I haven't really checked it out. I saw it, and apparently another social media host, channel, whoever, was given accolades or kudos to Donut. Y'all don't know who Donut is? Go check him out. Donut, all your Illuminati needs, all day, every day. That's Donut. Go check him out. He's over on Rumble. I think he's on YouTube. But anyway, he predicted it, obviously. So good for him. And we have a whole bunch of other stuff. Klaus Schwab, chairman of the board of directors for the WEF. He's stepping down at age 88. Same day the Pope died. Same age. Okay. And, I was wondering if anybody had done the numerology on, the Pope dying and all that stuff. Because I know there's tons of people out there that the right person's wearing a blue hat with a green shirt that has some number on it. They're going to put all that together and make it something, and then make it connect to a whole bunch of other somethings. And how you folks have the time to do that, God bless you, because, I think it's all just a bunch of mumbo jumbo, personally, in my own opinion. That's what I think about all that. And I say that because, I sat next to Mr. Gematria, negative 48, who gave me a 5-hour personal tutorial, one-on-one, nonstop, pushed everybody away that came, tried to intercede. And then I got to go sit over with him next day and just chill and really kick it personally without anybody around. And the things that gentleman told me, the things he showed me, and all the things that were supposed to come true, hey, God bless him. I'm sure he believed every bit of it. But, I don't see 2 and 2 equal 4. That's my own personal experience. Y'all can do what you want to do. I got some stuff to cover. Of course, we have the 7-2 opinion from the SCOTUS, and then Alito and Thomas giving a dissent. So I'd like to go over that with you guys, kind of break that down for you, give you the best of my own legal analysis. from somebody that's really been in the trenches and is not a paid legal analyst for mainstream media. It's going to give you a jaded view. Worldwide political indifferences that has to be settled some way, somehow. And this just dropped an hour ago. And again, this is from Reuters, which is, yeah. Venezuelan migrants were set for a deportation without judicial review, lawyers tell U.S. Supreme Court, by Andrew Chung. Reuters, April 21st, 2025, 4:47 Central Time. It was updated an hour ago. Summary of the article: Supreme Court temporarily halted Venezuelan deportations. Trump invokes 1798 wartime law to justify deportations. Let's dig in. Washington, April 21st. President Donald Trump's administration was prepared to carry out deportation of dozens of Venezuelan migrants detained in Texas under a 1798 law historically used only during wartime without judicial review and contrary to the U.S. Supreme Court's prior orders, lawyers told the justices Monday. The ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union, which should be dissolved. Sorry, it is nothing about American civil liberties. Okay. They are a domestic terrorist organization, in my opinion. Same thing with the Anti-Defamation League, ADL, Southern Poverty Law Center, all of them. Domestic terrorist organizations, in my opinion. So the ACL attorneys representing the migrants urged the Supreme Court. I have a hard time even saying this because of the disbelief in going through my mind that there's actually U.S. citizens, U.S. nationals, people born and raised here, their family probably immigrated here generations ago, defending criminals. I'm sorry, they're criminals. That's who they are. They're criminals. And listen, we don't need to concentrate on criminals from foreign countries that are here illegally. We should be focusing on those people that are in our prisons, state and federal, right now that are actually innocent, that got railroaded. And believe me, there's a bunch of them in there. But yet they want to go defend, you know, I have, these people are mentally ill. That's all. That's the only. That's what they say. Yeah, I just have a really, really, really difficult time with this. And listen, okay, I'm gonna get this real clear right up front for you guys. I am a Native American Indian. I'm a card-carrying member of the Muskogee Creek Nation, Mulchi, Oklahoma. So I'm a person of color. So I can talk about colored people. Absolutely. But I'm going to go one even deeper for you. Okay. We're going to go over here and we're going to hit up my great aunt. Okay. We're going to go see who my great aunt is. Y'all want to go see who my great aunt is? Before I get further into this article, I want to show you who my great aunt is. This is my great aunt right here, American writer and activist. And this is her on the back of a fucking quarter. Absolutely. Let's go read her Wikipedia. Ovita e dar vivero. From September 7th, to 1885 to June 15th, that's my father's birthday, to 1946, was an American journalist, teacher, political activist, and civil rights worker who championed the cause of Mexican Americans and Mexican immigrants. Against the backdrop of the Mexican Revolution, which lasted a decade from 1910 through 1920, she worked for a series of newspapers, using her writing to work towards making a meaningful and effective change. She began her career in journalism at La Crónica, her father's newspaper, in where? Well, my father's birthplace, Laredo, Texas, her hometown. Jesus, where we still own property. While working as a journalist, she became the president of the newly established League of Mexican Women, La Liga Femenil Mexicanista, in October 1911, an organization with a focus on offering free education to Mexican children in Laredo. Wow, I wonder how far the apple falls from the tree, folks, because, wow, sounds a lot like what I do, right? She was also active in the Primer Congreso Mexicanista, an organization that brought Mexican Americans together to discuss issues such as their lack of access to adequate education and economic resources. Idar was honored on an American Women Quarter, there you go, in 2023. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. She was born in Laredo, Texas. And you can go on and on. Y'all can go read this yourself if you want. But I believe she was one of the founders or co-founders of LULAC, League United of Latin Americans. That may not be in here, but that's what my aunt, cousin, and grandmother, they all told me that. You know, sadly, she's not alive. Here's her legacy. That's her profile on the back of the quarter. And then, if y'all don't know, this is my sixth great uncle, Alexander McGilvray. And I'm showing y'all this for a reason before I go get in there. But yeah, this is him. He was a chief, also an honorary brigadier general. He was a lieutenant colonel in the British Empire. And this is a big name right here, Sehoy. I got all kind of cousins, aunts named Sehoy. But anyway, y'all can go check this out. He was the lead signatory, lead negotiator, the Treaty of New York, right here, 1790. And then General George Washington gave him a sterling silver pocket watch. All right, so let me get over here back to my article. So you folks don't think I'm racist, because I'm not. I'm all about right and wrong. Okay, I don't have any gray area in between there. You either did it or you didn't do it. If you did it, do your due diligence. Okay, if you didn't do it, you didn't do it. You may have done it, but if they didn't prove you did it, hey, you get to skate on that one. You know, they shot their shot and they missed. So let me get back over here to the actual article for you guys. And when I tell you about the ACLU, I'm telling you folks from my own personal experience. I cannot tell you how many times I wrote the ACLU in prison. Okay, I'm talking dozens of times. Okay, probably 4, 5, 6 dozen times in 14 years about every issue under the sun. Air conditioning, climate control, cell size, pay telephones, I can just, chemical dependency treatment. I can go on and on and on, all the shit I wrote them about. Do you think they ever contacted me? You ever think they ever got down for somebody and, sweating their balls off on a 4th floor run of a Texas prison with no AC on the top bunk? Boy, you want to talk about hot and humid. Whew. All right, let's get back down to this. So the ACL filing said that the administrative officials had not provided the migrants with required notice or opportunity to contest the removals before many of them were loaded onto buses and headed to the airport. Okay, let's just stop right here, okay, and just get to some fucking knucklehead common sense. How did they get here? Well, the fucking then president of the United States, Joseph Robinette Biden, fucking traitor, treasonous idiot, flew them in on planes. Where was the processing then? Y'all hid them in airports, behind scenes. Y'all stashed them in storage rooms so the public and the media wouldn't see them. You flew them in the dead of night when nobody was watching. So now we should adhere to some type of standards to get them out of here the same way they got here. How much taxpayer money do you guys want to spend on deporting 40 million illegal immigrants? Okay. If it's $10 a pop, hey, that's a lot of fucking money. That's $400 million. Let's bump it up to 100. You see where I'm going with this? Now we're at 4 billion. And you see what they can do. They can get in these courts, they can clog up these courts, and they can clog up all the district courts, all the circuit courts of appeals, and the United States Supreme Court with a bunch of garbage. And who's paying for it? We are. I mean, I don't know if that's a double tax, triple tax, quadruple tax, but we're getting taxed. How would you like to live in New York where you're putting them up in the finest hotels? They're running around on the streets, spending money, robbing, stealing, doing whatever the fuck they want to do, beating up cops, raping little boys and girls. But yet there's some kind of standard we need to set for these folks who knew they weren't allowed to come in. But, what do you do when you have an incompetent presidency? What do you do when you realistically don't know who the fuck is really running the country? Who signed all those orders? Who signed all those bills into law from Congress? Who signed the pardons? Who made these decisions that have corrupted the United States of America? You folks listen, there's 40 million of them here, okay? Why do you think they come here and start dropping anchor babies like there's no tomorrow? You cannot go anywhere and see a Hispanic family, a young Hispanic family that doesn't have 2, 3, 4 kids. And until those go as well, okay, and those ones, this has been a problem for decades. This isn't anything new. I've watched my high school go from basically an all-white neighborhood, all-white school district to becoming 60% Hispanic, 30% Black, and 10% other. You heard me. Okay, that's why I've watched this. I'm living it. I'm in the hood still, where I grew up. I'm about 2.5 miles from my house where I grew up. I used to hunt here when I was a child. So we have some issues. I put a poll up just to so so everybody could look at it and cast their vote. And should immigrants have some rights, no rights? And by far, I think it's like 80 something percent. I'll go open it up here and look at it in a minute. The filing is the latest development, a high-profile legal battle involving the Republican president's immigration crackdown that has raised questions about his administration's willingness to comply with limits set by top judicial body. Okay? Where was our judicial body when they were coming into our country? Where were you then? You've abandoned the United States of America. You violated your oath of office. You violated your official bond. You're corrupt. You're treasonous. You're a traitor. Please resign. Talking to everybody in the Supreme Court, all the courts of appeals, all those U.S. district judges, because your day is coming. As you see, okay, Donald John Trump, he ain't hearing it. He don't give a fuck what you got to say. I'm telling you, he's going to do what he wants to do. If that stupid ass Supreme Court, they want to keep fucking around, they're going to find out. They're going to find out. I don't want to jump on you, but I'll get back to this article. Let me go show y'all something real quick. Okay. I always tell y'all, I'm ahead of the game. Pay attention. Pay attention. That's what I tell you. Listen to what I tell you. All right. I'm replying to my buddy's post right here, and this is what I replied with. Watch for U.S. Department of Interior with public announcements for new discoveries of vast quantities of commodities, i.e., rare earth minerals, oil, liquid natural gas, etc., right? And I published this on the 18th at 9:08 p.m. Here's his reply. I'm just going to scroll down a little bit. Y'all go check that out. That's good. That's my boy, Weekend Warrior. Told you. Next day, Doug Burgum. This is a triple win for America. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum discusses mining of rare earth materials in the United States and the threat of China and more on Fox News Sunday. Sunday. So there you go, folks. I told you before it happened that it was going to happen, and it happened. Absolutely. So I always try to stay ahead of the game, try to stay focused on, logic and reason. And I'm right quite often. I know. It sucks to be right all the time. It really does. I call myself a heartbreaker because people sit down in front of me and go, hey, Floyd, you can't do that. Or you got to change this, change that. But back to our little article over here that just dropped a couple hours ago. Whatever due process may require in this context, it does not allow removing a person to a possible life sentence without a trial. In a prison known for torture and other abuse, a mere 24 hours after providing an English-only notice form, not provided to any attorney, that gives no information about the person's right to seek judicial review, much less the process or timeline for doing so, the ACLU's filing stated. All right. Of course, they over-exaggerate everything. Oh, possible life sentence without a trial. And okay, in a prison that's known for torture and other abuse. Well, that penitentiary is called SCOTUS. And as far as I know, I have not seen one news article relating to any torture and abuse coming from SCOTUS. I may be wrong. I could stand to be corrected. If somebody has that out there, please throw it out there. The U.S. government has accused the migrants of being members of Tren de Aragua, a criminal gang originated in Venezuelan prisons that Trump administration, has designated as a foreign terrorist group. Trump has invoked the 1798 Alien Enemies Act in a bid to swiftly deport them. The law authorizes the president to deport, detain, or place restrictions on individuals whose primary allegiance is to a foreign power and who might pose a national security risk in wartime. So you see, the key word in wartime. All right. The 9-member Supreme Court early on Saturday temporarily barred the administration from deporting the migrants, acting swiftly in a case in which the lawyers for the migrants had warned of imminent removals. Two conservative justices, Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas, publicly dissented from that decision, and I'll get into that. ACL lawyers filed urgent requests on Friday in multiple courts, including the Supreme Court, after reporting that migrants held at the Blue Bonnet Immigration Detention Facility were at imminent risk of removal. The Supreme Court on April 7th placed limits on how deportations under the Aliens Enemies Act may occur, even as the legality of that law is used for the purpose is being contested. The justices require that detainees receive notice within a reasonable time and in such manner to challenge the legality of their removal. I know you come over here to laugh too. That was unbelievable, man. Can't make this shit up. Trump's got to really be pissed off at his selection of Amy Comey Bryant or Barrett, who has really turned out to be a piece of shit selection. She's left of middle, sadly. Trump's Justice Department told the justices that the bid by the migrants for relief was premature because they improperly skipped over the lower court's jurisdiction before asking for this one for relief. Of course they did. They didn't even fast track it, okay? So, okay, here, well, that's what I'm looking for. Let me explain that to you. All right, let me explain a fast track. Fast track where you go into a U.S. District Court and you file for a TRO, restraining order, boom, they deny it. You go straight to the U.S. Court of Appeals, emergency TRO, okay? They deny it. Then you go straight to the justice that governs the region that you're in. Okay? So if I'm in the Fifth Circuit, U.S. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, what's his name? Not Alito. Scalia. He used to be the justice over the Fifth Circuit. I don't know. I can't remember who it is now. I want to say Gorsuch for some reason. But anyway, you can appeal to them. This is what my friend Christine did in Florida. She took her case straight to Clarence Thomas because he's over that region, hoping that he would provide relief for her against Ron DeSantis in her RICO. They didn't. So, in a written filing, U.S. Solicitor General D. John Sauer said detainees are receiving advance notice of their removals and have had adequate time to file their claims for judicial review. I would think they would have gotten their notice November 5th, 2024. And if they didn't get the first one on November 5th, 2024, they should have got the one on January 20th, 2025. If you're in the country illegally, get the fuck out. I'm pretty sure that's a notice. The migrants. Okay. The ACL lawyers pushed back on this assertion, saying that a lower court judge had not acted despite evidence that the migrants were being readied for imminent removal and would almost certainly have been removed had the Supreme Court not intervened. Well, bro, or sisters at ACLU, hey, that's the legal machination. So for this United States Supreme Court to step in and intervene is without jurisdiction, folks. That is an illegal, unconstitutional act that they have no authority to grant. There's proper legal machinations that have to, they have to. This is why there was a dissent by Alito and Thomas, and that's why it's so important. Because the deep state, they're exposing themselves. Those 7 justices on the United States Supreme Court just exposed themselves to being part of a worldwide, you heard me, worldwide human trafficking, satanic cult that wants to rule the world. Absolutely. No doubt about it. In my opinion, because I'm entitled to my opinion. So, all this is speculative, and they got the court to jump on speculations. Something may happen, and they got them to react. Okay? And remember, I want you to remember this, folks. The term for the United States Supreme Court is from October, generally from October 1st, could be the 3rd, I think was when they actually came to term this year, to May 31st. And they have a summer recess. But yet, they'll issue opinions beyond May into June, July, sometimes August. So their term ends in about less than 45 days. Over 12,000 legal vehicles are submitted to the United States Supreme Court during a 1-year term from October to May. 12,000. And that's on average, roughly. You know how many cases they take up to actually adjudicate? 1%. About 120 cases. Is that justice? It sounds like injustice. And most people are not aware of all these little nuances that I'm expressing to you on this show about what's going on. They don't really understand how the courts work, what they're supposed to do, what they can do, what they're legally and constitutionally allowed to do. So this court has so overstepped its bounds that if U.S. Marshals went in and arrested those 7 justices, I wouldn't be surprised at all. And that's due course, in my opinion. If they need any permission to do it, you have my permission to go arrest them. Absolutely. Maybe that's what they're waiting for us, the people, to voice our concerns. That's why I'm telling you, folks, 2026 elections are so freaking important. Okay. If you're not out getting there, getting somebody conservative, somebody that wants to make change in your beliefs, okay? And if you're into common law, if you're into the Constitution, if you're into right and wrong, hey, go find somebody and get them in office. Go support them. That's what I'm doing here in the 18th Congressional District. I got Carmen running against a bunch of hard-hitting, long-time Democrats, you know, that they're career politicians. I have one chief. This chick keeps running and running and running and running and running for everything that she can try to get. She, Amanda Edwards. Now she's running for the 18th. She went to the school down the street, Eisenhower. So anyway, the administration has already deported to a maximum security prison in El Salvador more than 200 Venezuelan and El Salvadorian men it claims are gang members. Okay? Only 200, folks. 200. 200. And this is the bullshit we're going through for 200. There's only 40 million. Okay? There's a good million of that 40 million in there that are just straight up criminal. They're gangsters. They're in the trenches, in the barrios. I told y'all, both sides of the fence, and I'm not fucking kidding. Y'all go check out the news 3 months ago. I've even been a little bit further back than that. They had a big bust over here on Antoine. 24/7, 365, drive-through, drug hub, whatever drug you want. Ecstasy, cocaine, meth, fentanyl, Valium. They freaking had marijuana. They had everything there. And I'm just going to leave it right freaking there. Okay? I don't have to tell you anymore how connected I am to that. I'm telling y'all, both sides of the fence. I can pick up a phone and do two different things with two different people. Going one way and go the other way. And I definitely don't like to go that way, okay? I'm trying to stay on the straight and narrow. But I still know those people. Unfortunately, I have to interact with them sometimes. Like when I go to the parole office, the whole office is full of them. Let's get back over here to the article. So 200, and this is what we're already dealing with. This is the bullshit that we're going through. And, you know, it costs money to litigate these cases, time, money, and energy. These clowns are making minimum $250 an hour. Okay, not the ACLU, but we're paying our governmental attorneys to go do this, and they're making good money. In Monday's filing, the ACLU lawyer said that the justices weigh whether to maintain the temporary block on deportations should also clarify that the administration's actions are contrary to the April 7th ruling and provide guidance to the measures required to provide the migrants adequate notice. Well, I say we just establish some deportation courts. Do you think you can write an executive order, Trump, and establish deportation courts strictly for deportations? And we can put one, well, we can put all of them right there in the Bluebonnet Detention Center. And we can go have some trials. Yeah, we can line them up. We can do, how many y'all want to do a day? And we start prosecuting these people for some real federal crimes and see if they don't plea bargain out and say, hey, deport me. I waive everything. I'm ready to go. I don't want to spend the next 20 years in a federal prison. Send me home where I got better luck. I may escape down there, or I can go hang out with all my homies and run shit. transferring large number of individuals it intends to remove under the AEA, Alien Enemies Act, between judicial districts and providing English-only AEA notices less than 24 hours before removal and without any explanation as to how the individual may seek judicial review cannot by any stretch said to comply with this court's order that notice must be sufficient to permit individuals actually to seek habeas review, the filing said. Well, excuse me. I remember back in, what was it, July? Could have been February, that the official language of the United States of America is English, you stupid fucking cocksucking ACL attorneys. Did you miss the fucking memo? Did you miss that, EO? Yeah, we speak English here. We write it, we read it. That's how we want our phones to be answered, in English. We don't want to go through a prompt of press 1 for English, 2 for Espanol. We don't give a fuck about no Espanol. This ain't Espanol land. This is English, America. So this is the idiocy of the arguments that they use to gender favor with the courts who are left-leaning, and we know who all those are. All you have to do is just go look on the court and see who is fat and obese. And generally, those are going to be your left-leaning women, okay? Because when you go look at conservative women, oh, they hunt, they fish, they mud, they like to go to rodeos, they like to go country western dance. They're active, they're athletic, they're beautiful. Lawyers also just suggested the court take up and hear arguments in the case to resolve whether the AEA can be invoked outside of wartime against a criminal organization and for only the 4th time in U.S. history. Well, I don't know. We got wars on everything. War on drugs, right? So many wars. So let's get over here to the actual dissent of Samuel Alito, in which Associate Justice Clarence Thomas joined. And I went and found the most liberal website I could, PBS. I know I'm bad. Here we go, folks. You can cite this case as 604. U.S. page number has yet to be assigned. That's generally the last thing that happens. And then it goes to the lawyer's edition. Supreme Court of the United States, number 24A1007. AARP et al. Versus Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, et al. The et al. Means there's more than just the main defendant or the main plaintiff on application for injunction. So they just went right past the U.S. District Court, right past Court of Appeals, straight to the Supreme Court for an injunction. Ooh-wee. We should all have such privilege in the United States of America to be able to go directly to the United States Supreme Court and get instant relief. Do you see that? Do you see how that worked? Nobody else could get that to happen, but yet it happened. Justice Alito, with whom Justice Thomas joins, dissenting. Shortly after midnight yesterday, the court hastily and prematurely granted unprecedented emergency relief. Proceeding under the All Writs Act, Title 28 U.S.C., Section 1651, the court ordered the government not to remove a putative class of detainees until this court issues a superseding order. Although the order does not define the putative case or class, It appears that the court means all members of the class that the habeas petitioner sought to have certified, namely, all non-citizens in custody in the Northern District of Texas who were, are, or will be subject to the March 2025 presidential proclamation entitled Invocation of the Aliens Enemy Act regarding the invasion of the United States by Tren de Aragua and or its implementation. Motion for class certification in case number 125. And this is court number 125 is the year. CV is civil. CR would be criminal. And this is the 59th case to be filed in that court in the Northern District of Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth. And although the court does not specify what it means by the government, it appears that the term is intended to embrace all the named defendants, including the president. CF, compare. Compare Federal Rules of Civil Procedure 65D2. The court did all this even though, bullet point 1, it is not clear that the court has had jurisdiction. The All Writs Act does not provide an independent grant of jurisdiction. See 28 U.S.C. 1651A, permitting writs necessary or appropriate in the aid of a court's jurisdiction. Clinton versus Goldsmith, Supreme Court case from 99. The express terms of the All Writs Act confine the power of a court to issuing process in aid of its existing statutory jurisdiction, which means that, okay, the only way that they can use the All Writs Act is if they have already incurred jurisdiction. However, jurisdiction was not ripe in this particular, an emergency, injunction. Application for preliminary injunction, temporary injunction, basically a TRO. Okay, so because they skipped the U.S. District Court and obviously skipped the U.S. Court of Appeals and went straight to the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court never had jurisdiction in the case. What happens when a court acts without jurisdiction? Everything's void and moot. Who's going to make that call? Who's going to hold the United States Supreme Court accountable? Here we go again with accountability, transparency, and truth. The act does not enlarge that jurisdiction, quoting section 1651A. Therefore, this court, the United States Supreme Court, had jurisdiction only if the Court of Appeals had jurisdiction of the applicant's appeal. See section 1254, granting this court's jurisdiction to review cases in the courts of appeals. And the courts of appeals had jurisdiction only if the supposed order that the applicants appealed amounted to denial of a preliminary injunction. You see what I'm saying? They just jumped way ahead, and the court bit. Took that hook and sinker, and C 1292A1, that would also be under Title 28 USC. But here, the order that the applicants appealed was what they viewed as the district court's constructive denial of their request for a temporary restraining order, a TRO. And I haven't read this either. Order, and that's why I can predict most of this before I even read it, because I know the legal machinations, how they're supposed to work. How they're supposed to work. And obviously, this is a They have a term for what this is. I'll get to it in a minute. That is, the district court did not actually deny their most recent request for a TRO, but they inferred that it was constructively denied because the district court failed to rule on that request before the expiration of a truncated council-imposed deadline. Okay, let's go back to that. Before the expiration of a truncated council-imposed deadline. That means the court didn't give a deadline. One of the councils for the parties did. I don't know if that was the government or the ACLU. Maybe they'll get into it here later in this opinion or dissent. Okay, because the district court failed to rule on that request. Do you understand the term denied by operation of law? That occurs 120 days after any vehicle is filed into the court. If the court refuses to act upon the vehicle, whatever it is, whether it's a motion or writ, doesn't matter, it's denied by operation of law after 120 days. If we had the 120-day ripeness apply here, absolutely not. Are you seeing why people are so concerned about what the United States Supreme Court just did in this case? Do you completely comprehend now that it's really broken down by a legal analysis who's actually litigated in all these courts and knows what the fuck is going on and what's supposed to happen? Because you're not going to hear this on Fox. You're not going to hear this on, definitely not on CNN and MSNBC. The denial of a true TRO is not appealable. Okay. And here it is not clear that the applicant's TRO request was actually denied, and it wasn't. You see what I'm saying? It's like everybody, all the players are on the field, but we're not really playing, but the other team's going to go ahead and run their play and score a touchdown. And the officials are not, like, oh, touchdown. That's what just happened. Okay. And the refs, that's the Supreme Court. The team that threw the ball, scored a touchdown, that was the ACLU. The government, they were just standing around going, nothing to see here. All right. Indeed, in an order issued last night, the Fifth Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals in New Orleans, Louisiana, over Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, held that it lacked jurisdiction for this reason. See id at 1. And that would be talking about this case right here. See order. And let's scroll down. Bullet point number 2. Okay? Because we're going to have some real problems here. Because generally, get an eyeball on you guys. Generally, the Supreme Court will take up a case when there are what's termed as split circuits. What's a split circuit, Floyd? A split circuit is when I have the U.S. Court of Appeals, Fifth Circuit in New Orleans. They rule this way. I have the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in San Francisco, California. They're very liberal. They're the other way. Okay. So I have two differing opinions that go against each other. One from the Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals and the Fifth Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals. I need a tiebreaker. So where do we go? the United States Supreme Court to determine whether or not who holds precedent, the ninth or the fifth. That's generally what the Supreme Court does. However, there are other vehicles that are filed in there, like writs of habeas corpus, writs of mandamus, other extraordinary legal vehicles. But for the most part, the machinations, the generalities of what's filed in the United States Supreme Court is either appeals that are going up the chain, or there's a split circuit that needs to be remedied and ratified by the court, because we need the law of the land. We need uniformity, right? So that's what we're looking at there. Let's get back to the case. Bullet point number 2. It is questionable whether the applicants complied with the general obligation to seek emergency injunctive relief in the district court before asking for such relief from an appellate court. And not only do they just ask it from an appellate court, they went to the highest appellate court you could go to. They like skip the line, folks. You know, what do we think about people who cut in front of us and skip the line? Exactly. When the applicants requested such relief in the district court, they insisted on a ruling within 45 minutes on Good Friday afternoon. When the district court did not act within 133 fucking minutes, they filed a notice of appeal, which the district court held deprived it of jurisdiction. It is doubtful that this aborted effort satisfied Federal Rules of Appellate Procedure 8A1C. Okay, folks, this is what the ACLU did. They ran into court, filed a temporary restraining order application, and they wanted a ruling in 45 minutes. They told the court, you're going to have a hearing and you're going to rule on our filing in 45 fucking minutes. Have you ever heard of that happening? This is what 7 justices on the United States Supreme Court just did. They just bent every United States citizen, United States national over a barrel, and they just went to town on us. Absolutely. Can y'all spell treason? Because that's what they're doing. This is treason. This is treason, folks, in my opinion. It is okay. We're going to go bullet point number 3. When this court rushed to enter its order, the Court of Appeals was considering the issue of emergency relief, and we were informed that a decision would be forthcoming. This court, however, refused to wait. But under this court's rule 23.3, which I'm quoting, except in the most extraordinary circumstances, an application for a stay will not be entertained unless the relief requested was first sought in the appropriate court or courts below, or from a judge or judges thereof. So basically, what he's saying is that the United States Supreme Court was aware that a court of appeals had received the appellate notice on Friday from the ACLU that when the court didn't rule on their TRO within 45 minutes, and they didn't act within 133 minutes, which is a little over 2 hours, they filed their notice of appeal. So the U.S. Court of Appeals, I don't know which district yet, got a hold of it, and they were going to consider it. And it was Good Friday, folks. It was Easter weekend. And I don't know about you, but everybody took Easter off on Wednesday. I mean, I was trying to get people to do something. I was like, it's Easter. Yeah, Sunday. Okay. If you want to do a weak Easter, knock yourself out, man. More power to you. But this is the okey doke bullshit that they pulled. Okay, Good Friday, a holiday, going into Easter weekend. And then, of course, it's Easter Monday, and, everybody's half-assing it again. So let's continue. Even though the Court of Appeals held it, the Supreme Court knew it. Justice John Roberts allowed it. Jesus Christ, I hope there's a picture of him on Epstein Island. I hope he's on the flight logs repeatedly, in my opinion. Next bullet point. The only papers before this court were those submitted by the applicants. The court had not ordered or received a response by the government regarding either the applicant's factual allegations or any of the legal issues presented by the application. And the court did not have the benefit of a government response filed in any of the lower courts either. When the applicants first raised their allegations in the district court, that court provided the government with 24 hours to respond and was poised to rule expeditiously. But the district court dissolved the government's obligation to respond after counsel for applicants filed their hasty appeal, which, in the district court's view, deprived it of jurisdiction to rule. Are you seeing all the legal hanky-panky going on here? The reach arounds, pull downs, zipper up your back. Next bullet point. The papers before us, while alleging that the applicants were in imminent danger of removal, provided little concrete support for that allegation. Members of this court have repeatedly insisted that an All Writs Act injunction pending appeal may only be granted when, among other things, the legal rights at issue are indisputably clear, and even then sparingly and only in the most critical and exigent circumstances. You see all the adjectives they're using in there because they're trying to make a point. I'm not going to do all the citings. Next bullet point. Although this court did not hear directly from the government regarding any planned deportations under the Aliens Enemy Act in this matter, an attorney representing the government in a different matter, JGG versus Trump, informed the district court in that case during a hearing yesterday evening that no such deportations were then planned to occur either yesterday, April 18th, or today, April 19th. Did I mention there's some legal hanky-panky going on here? Somebody getting a reach around, and it ain't me, and it ain't you. Although the court provided class-wide relief on an injunction, that there's no precedent for that either. The district court never certified a class, and this court has never held that class relief may be sought in a habeas proceeding. The court just wrote new law. Okay? Because now that's precedent. That's going in the books. Absolutely. So if you know anything about West's key code, that's going to be under there. This is now law of the land. They just amended the All Writs Act. This is called legislating from the bench, folks. That's what the Supreme Court just did. Here's the pushback. In sum, literally, in the middle of the night, the court issued unprecedented and legally questionable relief without giving the lower courts a chance to rule, without hearing from the opposing party. Sounds like some little due process violations. Within 8 hours of receiving the application. with dubious factual support for its order and without providing any explanation for its order. I refused to join the court's order because we had no good reason to think that, under the circumstances, issuing an order at midnight was necessary or appropriate. Both the executive and the judiciary have an obligation to follow the law. The executive must proceed under the terms of our order in Trump versus JGG, and this court should follow established procedures. Mic drop. Thank you, Samuel Alito, for that dissent. And I was glad I could be the one to break this actual down, word for word, phrase for phrase, law for law, exactly what has happened. I'm going to say this again. Obviously, 7 members of the United States Supreme Court are treasonous traitors against the United States of America. I said that in my own opinion. You just see they went straight around all precedent. They just drafted, legislated new law from the bench. Now, if you're going to be deported, yeah, you ain't even got to go to the district court. You don't even have to go to the Court of Appeals. You can just file a TRO straight to the United States Supreme fucking Court, and they're going to grant it. They have to grant it. They just made it law. That's why they say this is unprecedented. There is no precedent. This has never happened before. And how many years we've been around? Almost 250, Floyd. 249 years in July. And y'all not even doing it for Americans, for United States citizens and nationals. Y'all are doing it for foreigners, terrorists, gang members, people smuggling people smuggling drugs, decimating communities. Are we a banana fucking republic? Are we gonna MAGA? Are we gonna make America great again? Because I'm having a hard time seeing it with the Supreme Court that's gonna just violate law, make up law to benefit scoundrels, fascists, socialists, terrorists, traitors, treasonous actors, in my opinion. It's pretty sad. What else was I going to cover? I broke that down pretty good for you. I'm going to check everything. Here.
Years to implement at this point.
All right. And whoops. Play this for you real quick. This is old Dougie. Dougie. Y'all pay attention to this guy. All right. He is the Secretary of Interior. He is a gentleman who came out when Trump signed the executive order and stated that the United States of America, that little old $36 trillion of a debt we have, oh, don't even worry about that. And I need to get back over there. Can I get over there? All right.
I want to ask ask you about Doge as well, because you signed an order this week that's about streamlining functions at Interior. And people, listen, our polling shows that they believe there's a lot of government waste and they want it taken care of, but they're very concerned, a majority of them, about what they see as kind of a slash and burn strategy with some of this. Here's reaction from one conservation group to your order this week. She says this, Jennifer Racala, the Center for Western Priorities: if Doug Burgum doesn't want this job, he should quit now. This order shows what it looks like when leaders abdicate their jobs and let unqualified outsiders fire thousands of civil servants who are working on behalf of all Americans and their public lands. What's your answer to that?
Well, again, I have to smile because having been in the private sector for my whole life until being a governor, and then working in a state where we had to balance the budget, which is different. I mean, the federal government is, if the federal government is like a ranch where they threw everything in the barn for 100 years, and great grandpa and grandpa never threw anything away and has accumulated everything and you never had to clean it out, that would be that's what the federal government is. And typically the federal government would send in a committee of 25 people. You'd pick up one object, spending 2 weeks talking about, should we get rid of it? What did great grandpa use this for? Maybe we should save it, might be historic. I mean, what we're doing right now is emptying out the barn and deciding what should go back in, and what should go back in is the stuff that actually serves the American people. That's what and so we take national parks for an example. There is so much overhead of people that work for the park system that don't work in a park. We can actually increase the number of people. Like this summer, we'll have more people working in Yellowstone than we had in 2020. More people working, but we could end up with fewer people across the whole park system, because guess what? We may not need that many people in IT. We may not need that many people in HR. There's things that we can do to streamline. And if we got people that are in this business because they care about the environment and they care about our lands, we've got customer-facing, land-facing jobs available. We have 5,000 jobs posted to go work in the parks, but we don't need wildfire fighters, people that are for summer help, come work for us, but work in a job where we're serving the public, as opposed to in DC or in a regional location where you're just doing overhead that's part of the barn that's never been cleaned out.
Well, those parks are treasures, and we wish you all the best in stewarding them. Secretary, thank you for being with us on this Easter.
Whoops, sorry about that.
This is only helping a select few. When we've got a powerful, strong 27 by 24-hour electorate, that's going to lower the price for consumers. That's going to make sure that we've got affordability and reliability in our system. Where President Trump is actually doing the thing where he cares about the economy, he cares about people, he cares about affordability in this country. He's doing that. The path that we were on was destabilizing our grid, raising prices, and helping our adversaries. So it's a triple win for Americans with President Trump's energy policy.
I know that some of these organizations have vowed to file lawsuits. Many of them have been either against you, the Interior Department, or the administration as a whole, to try to stop some of these things because of their concerns. We're going to track those, but I know that is a real drag on trying to get things done when you've got maybe 3.5 years to implement at this point. I want to ask you about Doge as well, because you signed an order this week that's about processing, and then it comes back to us. What can we do? Confidence in the president's tariff strategy. Obviously, China is one of the big sticking points here. And this idea of rare earth minerals, we get most of ours from them. And I know we have deposits here, but I was surprised to read that even some of what we mine here, we send to them for processing, and then it comes back to us. What can we do domestically to cut China out of that equation?
Well, Shannon, you've got it just right, because there's both the material and then the processing. And this began you go back to Obama, Biden administration. We've basically been a war on mining in this country for anything, not just rare earth minerals, critical minerals, but base minerals that we would have. And so under President Trump, it's not just drill, baby, drill. It's going to be map, baby, map, which is we've got these materials in our country, but then also mine, baby, mine. And what President Trump is getting done right now, and there's one project which is going to be announced, Resolution Copper Mine. This has been a 30-year saga in terms of getting permitting, and in 3 months, President Trump has got this rolling again. And of course, copper is key for electronics. It's key for military uses. And we've also, there's a special, under the powers of the emergency authorities, the energy emergency act, which includes the critical minerals that President Trump wisely put in place on day one. There had been only 2 mining projects ever that had been put on under an authority called Fast 41, which is an accelerated permitting. President Trump added 10 more mining projects to that this week. And all of these things are going to help us in the competition against China, who's really cornered the world market around many of these important minerals.
Yeah, and it makes it tough for us, obviously, in these negotiations when they even hint at a threat of us not having access to them. You've called China the biggest threat to this country. So where do we go in this tariff fight? How difficult do you think it is going to be to get to an agreement on things that will actually settle this?
Well, I have a lot of confidence in President Trump to be able to negotiate deals. We've got one of the best negotiators, probably the best negotiating. He's the only president we've ever had who literally wrote a book on negotiating. So I have a lot of confidence in him, but we've also have a lot of cards in our favor because China imports 11.5 million barrels of oil a day. They import about 25% of the calories they consume every day. And so when we think about the U.S. and us as being a superpower, we're an energy superpower, we're a food superpower, and China is highly dependent. So we've allowed ourselves to become dependent on their supply chains for critical minerals. That's the one piece that we've got to undo. And of course, with the actions of the National Energy Dominance Council, which President Trump created, coordinating across the whole of government, whether it's Chris Wright in energy, Brooke Mullins in agriculture, Lee Zeldin, Howard Lutnick, everybody's working together. He gives an assignment, we all work together, and we're all getting it done to make sure that we've got not only energy dominance, but we've got energy security, including with critical minerals.
Well, and one of the things you guys are working on too is this issue of AI. The president's pressed really hard on that. And it's not just the technology, because we're doing that by leaps and bounds here, but it's the energy production. You've raised the worry that we have with this. China far outpaces us on that production. They use a lot of coal, which we haven't done as much here. It was really dialed back. President Trump is ramping it up again. The Natural Resources Defense Council, not surprisingly, is against that. They say it's dirty and it's dangerous, and they say it flies in the face of common sense and benefits only the fossil fuel barons who backed President Trump's election. It will harm everyone else by increasing already expensive electricity bills and dangerous pollution. They say when it comes to renewable and clean energy, it's more reliable, it's more cost effective than it's ever been, and that coal is from the past. We shouldn't go back.
Well, I'm smiling because it's like everything in that statement is actually the opposite of that. Because we have in America the cleanest coal production in the world. If there's a coal plant that has survived the war on coal for the last 20 years, as President Trump likes to say, beautiful clean coal. If there's a coal plant operating today, it is among the cleanest plants in the whole world. And of course, what you get when you have coal, two things: thermal coal produces electricity. Metallurgical coal includes the metals that we need for steel making, the coke that goes into steel. There's also many other critical minerals that are located in coal that we can use as part of that process. But coal is persistent. It's 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. When we're talking about renewables, we're talking about things that are weather dependent. On the day that President Trump, as we look out on the Capitol here, on the day that President Trump was sworn in on January 20th, that was the highest peak load for the grid in this area from DC to New York. On that day, 70% of the electricity was coming from fossil fuels and 22% electric. How much was coming from renewables? Zero from solar, because the peak moment was 5 a.m. It was dark out. I mean, solar has a catastrophic failure every day, every 24 hours. The solar system of electricity has a catastrophic failure because it doesn't produce electricity at night. And then the wind wasn't blowing that day. So 2% of all the electricity from DC to New York was coming from renewables, and people are saying we got to switch to that. It's not in anyone's lifetime that we're going to get away from baseload thing. And now China, which you mentioned at the top of this, China opened enough coal plants last year to power all of California and all of New York. 94 gigawatts, 1 gigawatt in Denver, 94 gigawatts of coal. They've also got 30 nuclear plants. They've got a bunch of hydro. And this AI arms race, which is the existential threat, we cannot lose to China in an AI arms race. We're leading in tech, but they're leading in the electricity. And electricity has never been worth more. You can take a kilowatt of electricity in an AI data center, you manufacture intelligence. And that intelligence can be used by everyone. So when they say this is only helping a select few, when we've got a powerful, strong 27 by 24-hour electric grid, that's going to lower the price for consumers. That's going to make sure that we've got affordability and reliability in our system. Where President Trump is actually doing the thing where he cares about the economy, he cares about people, he cares about affordability in this country. He's doing that. The path that we were on was destabilizing our grid, raising prices, and helping our adversaries. So it's a triple win for Americans with President Trump's energy policy.
I know that some of these organizations have vowed to file lawsuits. Many of
We've covered that already. I want to play that for you. And remember, the day before he came out and announced all that, I told everybody, watch out for the Department of Interior coming out, making bold statements about what? Commodities. Okay. Because Doug Burgum said that the $36 trillion in debt, we ain't got to worry about that because the Department of Interior has hundreds of trillions of dollars worth of assets, okay, commodities that had yet to be accounted for or had been taken off the balance sheet or ledger or were just totally mismanaged. So I don't know what I heard, but I heard that the United States sounds like it's on some pretty substantial footing, even though it does have $36 trillion in debt. It looks like the dollar is getting stronger by the day, even though we have all the other fluff in front of us, just because they're discovering these raw materials worldwide. Other countries are doing it. The copper that he just mentioned, I saw that earlier. I think it's given me every copper discovery in the last 1,000 years. Stop. God. Well, you think it would just pop right up, right? That's Congo. 16 tons of copper in the Democratic Republic of Congo, plus inferred resource of 154 million tons, grading 1.89% copper. Should be about 3 million tons. Unbelievable. Looks like the Black Butte Copper Project in Montana, which is expected to produce 120,000 metric tons of copper concentrate annually, once it enters production. Wow. That's a lot of copper. 120,000 metric tons. And I know a ton's 2,000 pounds. So, holy crap. Annually, that's every year. Didn't say for how long, though. That's pretty crazy. Let me go over to the comments, say hello to everybody before I get locked up in doing something else. How you doing, Firecracker? Hello, Matt W. Long time no see. Hello, Mary. Good to see you too. Trash Dog, how you doing, girl? Mary Jones, yeah, NDA. I know it was he. He was very disheartened, but revved up just because and I mentioned the word precedented a lot in this show. It was, it's kind of unprecedented for that to happen, especially in a repossession case. That was crazy. Michelle Leon Poole, how you doing? Thank you for joining the show. Carrie Smith, hello. You're not able to get the trust book. Well, get ready for a little secret, okay? It's not much of a secret. Pay attention to one day this week. There's my calendar right there. Today's the 21st. It's Easter Monday, whatever the hell that is. Who makes this shit up? One day this week, I will do a 24-hour flash sale. All books and classes. I'm going to do a major blowout. So look for deeply discounted products. And the reason behind the flash sale is because Anne LaFleur had a flash flood that wiped out the bridge that interconnects her homestead to basically, she lives on an island, okay, to the main part of the island where she can walk to the market. Without the bridge, they have to actually traverse I don't know if she called it a river. I don't know how big it is. I live next to a bayou. People would call that a river if they didn't know better, but creek, river, bayou, whatever. Apparently the bridge got washed out, and I've sent her some funds to assist with replacing the bridge. Thank God that we're able to do that. So yeah, I'll do the flash sale one day only, 24 hours. I'm gonna do a major blowout. So if you're looking for Anne's On Trust book, if you're looking for a specialty book, if you're looking for one of her classes, a combo, I'm gonna stay tuned. I got to put it all together. I've just been busy. I actually went and picked up, I've got such an awesome mechanic, and I've been with him 26 years. Same guy. My car, I kept getting a drivetrain malfunction message and I took it to him and had some other things that he fixed for me. So got that back on the road. Runs great. He did an excellent job. Gizmo 2. Good to see you. Name change. I'll take you dancing. Remember, anyway, pray for my family. My brother, Alberto. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, I always hate to hear that. Matt, how you doing? Puerto Rico? Right, prayers. You're welcome. Hello, Irene. How you doing today? Good to see you. Right. Hey, Buffy's in the house, everybody. Occult Examiner. I know she did a 420 show yesterday. I got to go hang out in that for a little while before I had to get back to work. She was just pulling the tarot cards when I had to peel off. Conspiratories in the house. That's a hell of a name, conspiratory. Sounds worse than Cuba. I don't know. Oh yeah, hit that thumbs up. It's not for me. Matt and I were having this discussion earlier, about the likes and all stuff. Because some of you can actually see it live on YouTube. Y'all see it when it's happening. They'll take away subscribers, take away likes, all that stuff. Hello, Tim Brown. And Yellowhammer 44. Did Trump rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America to get around a non-drilling law or agreement made by the Biden administration? If so, genius. That's a possibility. But if you actually Google which land incorporates the Gulf the most, it would be the United States. We actually have more coastline than Mexico. So technically, it is the Gulf of America, not Mexico. However, Mexico was here before America, the United States of America, absolutely. So that's why it was Gulf of Mexico. But guess what? We took it back. And that's what Trump wants to do. Driving myself nuts? No, it's... If I'm going to be persecuted under your laws, I fully expect you to follow your own fucking laws. I expect you, when you transgress upon the laws, to be held accountable just like I was held accountable. Why should you have any more special privilege than me? We're both U.S. citizens, U.S. nationals, born here, raised here. There's no difference between us. So yeah, I've seen so much judicial corruption in my life, personally targeted to me. And when I see it happening, it just irritates the fuck out of me. And when I see the highest court in the land do it, it really fucking pisses me off. Because for one, I don't vote, can't vote. Don't have any, I have zero rights because I'm on parole, which is ludicrous. All right, Richard, how you doing? Supreme Court flying the gold French flag 840-10 just proves they're running a military court. Oh yeah, well, that's commercial proceedings under civil rules and procedure, masquerading as whatever the fuck they want to label it. That's what's happening. It's a commercial. Doesn't matter if you're in family court, divorce court, probate court, criminal, civil, commercial proceeding, civil rules and procedure, masquerading is whatever they label it. Only article. Yeah, Richard, that's it's like beating a dead horse. We all get that. And this is the huge disconnect, because for those of us who, we study law, we read books like this, in this, okay, and we memorize it, and we know how the law pertains to the specific thing that we want to do. But when we go to that counter and we get that administrative bureaucrat that's never studied law, doesn't have any idea what specific legal terms mean, because they've never opened up a Black's Law Dictionary to look up the word, or went and actually pulled out the law book with the definitions and the codes and looked up what the definition of the word actually means. So there's this major disconnect between you and the person you're talking to. And then when you write these vehicles and you send them to these administrative people that work in the governments, you expect them to be on your intellectual level. You expect them to have read the same books, have the same knowledge, same references. Nope. And that's the disconnect. Most of them don't even know what laws they operate under. That's why I tell everybody, go in a bank and ask for the bank manager and then ask him, if you're in Texas, what law do you operate under? Banking laws? No, the Uniform Commercial Code, fondly known as the Texas Business and Commerce Code. Isn't that what you do, business and commerce at the bank? And they don't even know that. I love walking up to tellers. How long you been here? I've been here 29 years. Oh, really? Oh, so you think you're pretty smart then, huh? Here, let me throw some stuff at you. And you sit there and just clown them and clown them and clown them and clown them and clown them. And, you know, after a while, it's so easy. You're just like, yeah, I got to go find some higher hanging fruit. This is too easy. They make billions of dollars by the hypothecation of securities. And when a lot of people say we're going to get rewarded for our birth certificate bond that's been, you know, put out there and hypothecated a gazillion frickin' times, I don't see any money coming from any of that because it's, you know, it's bit, if you're familiar with the term stock split, okay, so let's say you bought Apple shares and you bought them for 100 and they went up to $10,000 a share. Well, it's too expensive for most people to buy, so they split the stock. And it lowers the value of the stock so more people can afford it. And a lot of stocks do that. It's the same principle with the securities. Okay. They split it. So now it's worth double what it was. So a $250,000 promissory note for a mortgage and now $500,000. And then it gets hypothecated again to $750,000. Then it gets hypothecated again to $1.5 million. And then before all said and done, that little old $250,000 promissory note's been hypothecated to $67 million of just made up money. It's insane. Firecracker tells us that Trump picks people to bring them out to show us who they really are. Well, yeah, okay, we see them. We've identified them. And we've already been a judge, jury, and executioner in our own figment of our imaginations. So can we have our imagination become reality? Because we need to see some grand jury impaneling, some indictments being thrown out left and right. We need to see some arrests. We need to see the highlight footage on the evening news. And we need to see some show trials, some plea bargains, some convictions, some maximum sentences, and obviously some death sentences imposed, and then some televised executions. Absolutely, in my opinion. Ken F., welcome to the show. I think it's called Gitmo for the treasonous criminals. You know, we've been hearing this, that, you know, all these celebrities and politicians and pop stars, rock stars, athletes have been sent to Gitmo. Some of them are there doing LWOP, life without parole. Some of them are doing life. Some are doing few years. Some have already been executed. Yet, they're still appearing in commercials, TVs, games, music videos, halftime shows. Some of them, they even buy sports leagues, an entire league. How does a dead person do that? Why would a dead person do that? You have to ask yourself that. If Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, if he was allegedly tried, convicted, executed, or sent to Gitmo, whatever, why did he buy the football league? What serves that purpose? Is that his estate, his legacy behind it? Or is he still alive and all that's a bunch of bullshit that we've been fed? Q blowing smoke up our ass. I don't know. Gizmo 2, you're, English only. And at the first of the video, I showed you guys who my great aunt is. I've got relatives all in Mexico, all down in the border valley, all over. I've got more freaking cousins than I'll never, ever, 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 ever meet. I've got thousands of cousins, because Floyd Pleasant Tarvin Sr., I think he had 11, 12 kids. Junior had 11 or 12 kids, maybe 13. And my father had 1, 2, 3. Yeah. My father had 3, 2 survivors, me and my sister. But because of my great-grandfather and great-great-grandfather, and I've got cousins out the wazoo. Yep. And the Pope died. And let me ask you guys about that. How many of you think the Pope actually died today or yesterday or Sunday? Or just, what did J.D. Vance tell him so he would just go to bed that night and have a cerebral stroke of all things and then have a heart attack? Yeah. I don't, I don't know about the Pope. I think he passed away a little while ago, and they've been propping that up, just waiting for the right date, the right time. Very ironic that, the Pope, with all the satanic imagery surrounding the Vatican and the Pope and the Catholic religion, that he missed his cue, right? Wasn't he supposed to die 3 days before Easter and then rise in 3 days? Wouldn't that have been a little bit more towards the narrative of the story than to die on Easter or after Easter? Oh, coal scrubbing. AI will make millions of people jobless. Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. Did you hear Trump name Washington, D.C. to Washington District of America? I did not hear that. District of America. He changed it from District of Columbia, and there's a lot. Go do a deep dive on Columbia and what that represents. Blind Owl, how you doing? If you want to come here legally, I don't have a problem with that. My Lyft driver earlier today, he was from Pakistan, and I had a conversation with him. Found out how long he's been here in the States, the whole 9 yards. And I go pick up my car, and my mechanic, Charlie, he's from the Middle East. They call themselves Persians. Yeah, so I'm all about legal immigration. Absolutely. Yeah, come over here and, be part of the system, be part of society. Come here and give us your contributions. But, hey, if you're going to give me a fucking 60-year sentence in prison for speeding down Westheimer, allegedly driving while intoxicated, and yeah, albeit, I had a whole bunch of baggage behind me, and deservedly so. And believe me, I'm grateful for that, because it woke my ass up. It got my attention. It went, Floyd, wake the fuck up, bro. You're insane. Did you know that? No, I didn't at the time. I had to go sit and percolate and do this long-term review of my life, to the point where, okay, yeah, I know why I'm here for. It's for all the shit I did that I didn't get caught doing. So I'm not fucked up about it at all. So y'all don't be fucked up about it either. I'm just fucked up that I'm on parole. Okay. I've done enough time. I did 14 years, 2 months fucking flat. And I've done 9 years on parole. Win is win. Yesterday, JD told him that he was going to shut his clone down. Jumping Jack Flash actor playing the Pope, central casting. Why was Vance there? I think it was a pre-scheduled event, and I don't really know. I really don't care about the Vatican and the Catholicism, just because of all the pedophilia, and that they still continue to allow it to happen. And they've never, they don't hold their bishops and their cardinals and their priests accountable. They just transfer them to another parish or wherever. They hide them. They pay off the victims. So yeah, I'm not down for any of that. And if you actually study religion, like I have, and you do a deep dive into popes, there have been some extremely evil, heinous, horrendous popes. If you go just read what all the shit that they did. But the origin of the papacy, most people don't know this, but its origins are from the astrologers of the king or the queen of the kingdom. Okay. And the astrologers, of course, looked at the stars. And then when religion came around to what? To divide and conquer, they became popes. And how could the astrologer have more power than the king? The pope. So that's where we got that from. The Roman Catholics used to run DC. Midnight Rider rides again. The reptilian hall is so creepy. And it is. If you guys go watch Donut over on Rumble and take it, I don't watch his stuff anymore. And this is why I don't watch it. In my opinion, I don't watch it because sometimes he treads into rituals. Even part of the ritual, I don't want to be caught up in any of that. So I'll watch bits and pieces of him now. I used to watch him all the time, everything he put out. And then it got to the point where, none of this is really new for me. He's a big proponent of Jordan Maxwell. Jordan Maxwell was his mentor. He was a protege for Jordan Maxwell. So if any of y'all familiar with that. Yeah, you're welcome, man. I'm really sorry to hear that. Always sucks when you lose a loved one, because it's double jeopardy and it's a whole bunch of different things. So, all right, I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover. Actually, I wanted to get into the repossession and tell you guys all about that, but I didn't have a chance to. Oh, yeah, okay, I got this today. Let me show you guys this before I go. I'm going to have to give myself a little pat on the back. The 200-year plan, the 2025 edition, is now actually an ebook you can purchase. It's on the website. It's $16.99. If you want to wait on the actual printed book, I don't know when I will have that. I heard back from my printer today, and they are sourcing everything. Hopefully I'll have something this week on the soft cover volume of the Specialty Trust book, but this book will be going into print right behind it. And then, of course, there's the rear cover. For those of you who don't know, history repeats itself, and then there are those who are way ahead of the curve. Over 2 centuries, hidden in the shadows, a nefarious secret group has worked tirelessly to undermine the principles on which was America founded, as the deep state. In the 200-year plan, former FBI agent whistleblower Ted Gunderson and former NSA agent whistleblower and Man in Black Noel Benoist exposed the chilling agenda of the global conspiracy to overthrow the American way of life under the guise of progressivism. Okay. And for most of you who don't remember, what do I have in my hand here? The Practical Progressive. How to build a 21st century political movement. Includes profiles of the country's leading progressive organizations selected by Eric Alterman, Paul Bagaya, Wes Boyd, Joe Conason, Katrina Vanden Heuvel, and other experts by Erica Payne. And I actually have this book in prison. As you see, it is, you pick that glare up. Yeah, come on. TDCJ approved. So I brought this out from prison, and I didn't realize it at the time, but this is the playbook that the Democratic Party used to get control. It's all right here. These are all the NGOs, all that crap. This is the playbook. That's how they did it. I can get it out of here now. All right. Calpurnius, Piso, and the family created the New Testament. Yeah, that's why people are, more than likely or not, the Bible that you have on your shelf or next to your bed is the King James Version. Well, whose version? King James's version. It's not the Lord's version? No. It's the King James Version. You see what I mean? And when was King James around? Oh, really? Way back then? The 15th century? All right. Okay. What else did I have? Oh, yeah, back to the book. So anyway, 200-year plan. It's a thing. It has been updated. I went through it and completely re-edited the book, word for word, page for page. I added some stuff for clarity. I put in new links. I went and vetted every link that was in the original book for to make sure it wasn't a dead link. I corrected all the dead links. I added in the appendix, there are links to all the archives, or well, the majority of the archives of Ted Gunderson. If you don't know who Ted Gunderson is, he was an FBI agent in Los Angeles from the mid 50s to the mid 70s. Okay. So if you remember what happened back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s in LA, California, he was on top of all that. He was a special agent in charge. Back in the 70s during the Carter administration, he was up for the directorship of the FBI. Yeah, the main man, the guy. William Webster was selected instead. Even then, he was exposing the satanic, pedophilia, ritualistic cabals, not only in California, all the way to Washington, D.C., and the pervasiveness in the government, as well as in the movie industry and all across the board. Y'all have to get the book, check it out. Still alive? Yeah, I'm still alive. I went over 2 hours, which sucks because I can't, I can, but I have to do it by hand. The AI won't automatically make shorts, but no big deal. But the 200-year plan, y'all check that out. And then, of course, I am working on the pedagogy of Noel. And this is Noel Benoit's life story. And we're doing it in chapters. Each chapter is a different story. I spoke to Noel Friday or Saturday. He was en route to Washington, D.C. Apparently, he is going to the District of America. I don't know if that's it. To be an advisor to the Trump administration. That will be very interesting. I haven't spoken to him since. It was a multi-day journey. He had a stopover. So he should be in D.C. by now. I'll probably give him a call this evening. Yeah. Oh, there's a time difference now. Now he's ahead of me. Before he was way behind me, so he would, call me at all hours. But yeah, so I'll be putting that together. But I need to do the ISBN for the 200-year plan for the actual softcover book. Have to register it. Then I'll have three softcover books, 3 ebooks, all registered. And I will be soliciting for an actual large publishing house to possibly pick the books up. They will obviously be over on Amazon. That would be in Mar-a-Lago. All right. I'll go for that. I think that's about it for me on my end. Have anything over here set up for you guys? Doesn't look like it. Let me check. No. That's it. I think that's all I got. I done busted my nut. Yeah, time for me to go. I did wear my skull and bones. This is for the Pope. I know. Got a sick sense of humor. For those of you who stuck around, I'm getting ready to play the 6-minute outro promo on Ann's Specialty Books. You want more? Hey, Ann. I'm out of ammo. I had to come up with 2 hours and 30 minutes of material. I just lost myself. But thank you for watching. Please be sure and like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell, leave a comment below. Not for me. I don't care about any of that crap. I'm shadow banned. But so hopefully it'll change the algorithm. So people that are like-minded like you, it'll get over in their recommended videos, hopefully, and they can pick it up. I'm going to do some more shows this week. I don't officially have to be at work until next Monday. A week from today, we're doing the Offshore Technology Conference, which is a big deal here. It'll be interesting to see how big it is this year, because last year it was smaller than the year before, which was kind of odd because last year was kind of a pickup because of the pandemic that we went through. So it'll be interesting to see if we have more people, especially with Trump coming in here with the Offshore Technology Conference. Usually I do Saudi Aramco's booth. And when I did them 3 years ago, I did their booth. And their labor cost for that event, their labor cost was $5 million. Yeah, you heard me. Their labor cost, that wasn't for everything else, for the booth space, for the actual booth that they had. Yeah, my jaw dropped when they told me that. I was like, what? I was like, where do they spend $5 million? Who's getting that money? I want some. But I doubt I'll be there again because they changed their, maybe they changed their production company. So, but yeah, OTC is a big deal. So I'll be working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm off that Friday. That Thursday and Friday, the 4th and the 5th, is Charlie Ward's golf tournament. Actually starts before that. But those are the 2 days that they're actually having the meet and greet and the conference and the booths all set up. I want to go there, but I'd have to like leave work, fly, meet up with Corey, go to the event, and almost get right back on a plane and fly back to Houston to be at work. What is it? The 6th and the 7th, I think. I don't know. So I'll be busting my ass all next week, unless something happens called the RV. Was the printing press running at night? Oh, yeah. I don't know. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I see everybody's peeling off. So let me end this travesty before I hang myself. And I'm not suicidal, in my opinion. Good night, everybody. Thank you for hanging around to watch this special promo on the new book by Ann LaFleur and Fearless Floyd, Specialty Trusts. We'll dive right in. There's the cover to the On Trust books. That's the first book that Ann wrote. This is the 3rd edition on revocable, irrevocable, foreign, charitable, remainder, express, college education, and land trusts. It has instructions, templates, examples, everything you need in this trust or in this book to run these 7 different trusts. Everything you need. Here's the table of contents. And please disregard the error bookmark, not defined, notices on the right hand of the screen. There is a lot of redundancy in this book simply because the simplicity of how it was adopted from the classes. So you're going to see, a trustee appointment letter in every one of the trusts when you just really need one and just change the information. Here we go. This is a specialty trust cover. And here are all the trusts that are available in this book: How to Create and Operate Specialty Trust, full instructions, templates, and examples to create and operate a QTIP, a qualified terminal interest property trust, qualified personal residence trust, irrevocable life insurance trust, third-party special needs trust, community property trust, asset protection trust, discretionary trust, ministry trust, decedent trust, charitable trust, special needs trust, perpetual family trust, testamentary discretionary trust, grantor retained annuity trust, irrevocable farm trust, pets trust, AB trust, and marital trust, as well as the bonus DNA trust addendum. Here is the table of contents. And again, please disregard the error bookmark at not defined. And here we go with the DNA trust. Wanted to show you guys a little bit of this. That's the first 3 pages right there. This is the bonus. You can add this to any one of the trusts. Doesn't matter whether it's a revocable, irrevocable, foreign, express, pets trust, same thing. If you'd like to get one of the books or a combination or a package, the ebooks are available for $249 each, and that's either the On Trust or Specialty Trust books. If you'd like a soft cover, they are $259. I do have package deals available at thefearlessfloydshow.com/store on my website. If you'd like to do an a la carte package deal that I don't have available and you want to put something together, hit me up, thefearlessfloydshow@yahoo.com. I mainly hang out over on Telegram, so come hit me up over there. These 2 books are probably the only books you will ever need if you ever want to operate in trust, and everybody should at least research it and see if it's right for you and your family. Thank you for watching, everybody. I appreciate it. And I'll see you at the next show.